The celebration hall stretched across 3 levels of the command station. Golden lights floated in the air like tiny stars. Music played from hidden speakers. Thousands of Velhari officers danced and laughed and raised their glasses to another victory. Supreme Commander Othran stood on the highest balcony. His gray skin shimmered under the lights. His 4 eyes watched his people celebrate below. 500 worlds. 500 conquered planets now belonged to the Velhari Empire. No other species in the galaxy had achieved such power. A magnificent achievement, Supreme Commander, said his advisor, a thin creature named Kelvos. The Drani collective fell faster than we predicted. Their defenses were nothing. Othran nodded slowly. They always fall. Every species we meet thinks they are special. They believe their weapons are strong. They believe their warriors are brave. And then we arrive. He remembered the early days of the Empire. Back then, the Velhari were just one species among many. They lived on their homeworld and dreamed of the stars. Then they built their first warships, they found their first enemy, and they learned a simple truth. The galaxy belonged to those who took it. 500 worlds, Othran said quietly. My grandfather conquered the first 10. My father added 200 more. And now I have doubled our territory. Kelvos bowed his head. Your name will live forever. Supreme Commander. The door behind them opened. A young officer rushed in. His breathing was fast. His eyes were wide with something Othran had not seen in many years. Fear. Supreme Commander, the officer said. I apologize for the interruption, but there is news from the border. Othran turned around. Speak. Our sensor stations in the Outer Rim have detected a fleet. It is approaching from uncharted space, from a region we have never explored. This was interesting. The Velhari had mapped most of the galaxy. They knew every major species. They had conquered or destroyed them all. But there were still dark corners of space where no one had traveled. How large is this fleet? Othran asked. Approximately 40 ships, Supreme Commander. They are moving at standard speed. They will reach our border in 3 days. Kelvos laughed softly. 40 ships? We have 40,000. This is not a threat. This is a gift. A new species has come to us. We will not even need to search for them. But Othran did not laugh. He studied the young officer's face. There is more. Tell me. The officer swallowed hard. We attempted communication. Standard protocols. We identified ourselves as the Velhari Empire. We demanded they stop and prepare for inspection. And, they responded, Supreme Commander. In our own language. They said they know who we are. They said they have been watching us for some time. They called themselves humans. From a planet called Earth. Othran had never heard these names. Humans, Earth. They meant nothing to him. But something in the officer's voice made him curious. What else did they say? The officer looked at the floor. They said they are coming to end our conquests. They said our victories stop here. And then they cut the communication. Silence fell over the balcony. Even the music from below seemed distant now. Kelvos shook his head. Arrogance. Stupidity. They have 40 ships, and they think they can threaten an empire? They will be destroyed before they even understand what they face. Othran raised one hand. Kelvos went quiet. Send a subjugation force to meet them, Othran said. Standard formation. 100 ships should be enough. I want to know more about these humans before we crush them. The officer bowed and hurried away. Kelvos moved closer. You seem troubled, Supreme Commander. Surely you are not worried about 40 primitive ships. Othran walked to the edge of the balcony. He looked down at his celebrating people. They had known nothing but victory for generations. They had forgotten what fear felt like. Perhaps that was dangerous. I am not worried, Othran said. I am curious. Every species we have conquered showed us fear from the first moment. They begged for mercy. They tried to negotiate. They ran away. But these humans did none of those things. They spoke to us as equals. No, they spoke to us as if we were the ones who should be afraid. Then they are fools, Kelvo said. Perhaps. Or perhaps they know something we do not. 3 days passed. The celebration ended. The Empire returned to its normal business of controlling 500 worlds. Reports came in from every corner of Velhari space. Production numbers. Military movements. Prisoner counts. Everything was normal. Everything was under control. Then the subjugation force reached the human fleet. Othran was in his command center when the first reports arrived. He sat in his chair and watched the holographic display. 100 Velhari warships faced 40 human vessels. The numbers were clear. The outcome was certain. The battle began. And then, the reports stopped making sense. Supreme Commander, the human ships are moving at impossible speeds. Our targeting systems cannot track them. Supreme Commander, 3 of our cruisers have been destroyed. We did not see the weapons that hit them. Supreme Commander, the humans are not fighting in any formation we recognize. They move like a pack of hunters. They separate our ships and destroy them one by one. Othran leaned forward. His 4 eyes were fixed on the display. Red dots represented Velhari ships. Green dots were humans. He watched as the red dots disappeared. 1 after another, then 5 at once, then 10. How is this possible? Kelvos whispered. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 87 Velhari ships were destroyed. The rest were running. The human fleet had lost nothing. Not a single ship. Not even significant damage. Othran sat in silence for a long time. On the display, the green dots moved forward. They crossed the border. They entered Velhari space. A new communication arrived. Othran opened it. A human face appeared on the screen. It was strange to look at. Soft skin, 2 eyes, hair on the top of the head. The human wore a uniform covered in symbols Othran did not understand. Behind the human, other humans worked at their stations. They looked calm, relaxed, like they had just finished a morning exercise instead of a battle. I am Admiral Hana of the Terran Defense Fleet, the human said. Her voice was clear and cold. Your subjugation force has been eliminated. We are now entering your territory. You have conquered 500 worlds. You have enslaved billions of innocent beings. That ends now. We are coming for you. And nothing in this galaxy will stop us. The screen went dark. Othran finally understood the look on the young officer's face 3 days ago. It was not just fear. It was the understanding that everything was about to change. For the first time in 500 conquests, the Velhari Empire had met something they could not defeat. The humans were here, and they were unstoppable. Admiral Hana stood on the bridge of the Terran flagship Soul's Pride. The stars outside the window were unfamiliar. They were deep inside Velhari territory now. Every hour, they moved closer to the heart of the Empire. Status report, she said. Lieutenant Bora looked up from her console. All ships are in formation, Admiral. No damage from the border engagement. Crew morale is high. Hana nodded. The first battle had been easy. Too easy, perhaps. She had studied the Velhari for years. She knew their history. She knew their tactics. She knew they had never lost a war. But she also knew something they did not understand about humanity. Earth was not like other worlds. Admiral, Bora said. Long-range sensors are detecting a large fleet ahead, approximately 300 ships. They are moving to block our path. 300 ships. The Velhari were taking them seriously now. Hana smiled slightly. Good. Let them come. Captain Taemin entered the bridge. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had served in the Terran military for 30 years. He had seen battles that would break most soldiers. Nothing surprised him anymore. The fleet commanders are asking for orders, Taemin said. Should we prepare for engagement? Hana turned to face the window. Out there, somewhere in the darkness, 300 enemy ships were rushing toward them. 300 against 40. Most species would run. Most species would hide. Most species would try to negotiate, but humans were not most species. Tell the fleet to maintain course, Hana said. We do not change direction. We do not slow down. When we meet the enemy, we show them what it means to fight Deathworlders. Taemin smiled. It was a small smile, but it held a lifetime of experience. Understood, Admiral. Taemin smiled. Understood, Admiral. Taemin smiled. The hours passed. The distance shrank. Both fleets moved toward each other like two storms about to collide. On the Velhari side, Fleet Commander Vaxor watched the human ships approach. He was one of the best commanders in the Empire. He had led hundreds of battles. He had never lost. The humans are not changing course, his officer reported. They are heading directly toward us. Vaxor clicked his teeth together, a sign of confusion among his species. They see our numbers. They know they are outnumbered almost 8-1. And yet they attack? Yes, Fleet Commander. They are either very brave or very stupid. He had read the reports from the border battle. 87 ships, destroyed, in 11 minutes. It seemed impossible. The Velhari had the best weapons in the galaxy. The strongest shields. The most disciplined crews. How could 40 primitive ships destroy so many? Prepare all weapons, Vaxor ordered. Focus fire on their lead ship. We will destroy their admiral first. Without leadership, they will fall into chaos. The fleets met at the edge of a dead star system. Vaxor gave the order to fire. 300 Velhari ships launched their weapons at once. Missiles and energy beams filled the space between the fleets. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Nothing could survive such an attack, but the human ships were not there anymore. They had moved. In the instant between the firing order and the weapons launching, the entire human fleet had shifted position. They scattered like fish, avoiding a predator. The Velhari weapons hit nothing but empty space. Vaxor stared at his display. That is impossible. No ships can move that fast. No crews can react that quickly. Fleet Commander, the humans are attacking. The human ships regrouped in seconds. They formed into small teams of 3 or 4. Then they charged into the Velhari formation. On the Soul's Pride, Hana watched her fleet work. She knew every captain. She trusted every crew. They had trained for this moment for years. Team Alpha, target the command ships, she ordered. Team Beta, break their left flank. Team Gamma, keep their reinforcements away from the main battle. The human ships moved through the Velhari fleet like wolves among sheep. They were faster. They were smarter. They worked together with perfect coordination. While the Velhari ships tried to track one enemy, 3 more attacked from behind. Lieutenant Bora's fingers flew across her console. Enemy destroyer disabled. Enemy cruiser destroyed. 3 more ships breaking formation. Enemy destroyer. Fort Pontel. Hana nodded. Continue the pressure. Do not give them time to regroup. The battle lasted 45 minutes. Vaxor watched from his command ship as his fleet fell apart. Ships exploded around him. Officers screamed orders that no one followed. The humans were everywhere at once. Every time he thought he understood their pattern, they changed tactics. How are they doing this? He demanded. They are outnumbered. They should be losing. His science officer looked up with fear in his eyes. Fleet Commander, I have been studying their movements. Their reaction times are beyond anything in our records. They respond to threats in fractions of a second. Their bodies can handle acceleration that would kill any Velhari, and their coordination suggests they share information faster than our best computers. What are you saying? I am saying these creatures are not normal, Fleet Commander. They come from a world where everything is trying to kill them. Their gravity is heavy. Their atmosphere is harsh. Their planet is filled with predators. They evolved to survive conditions that would destroy any other species. They are Deathworlders, in the truest sense. Vaxor felt cold for the first time in his life. He had heard stories of Deathworlders, beings from dangerous planets who were stronger and faster than other species. But he had always thought they were myths, legends to scare children. Now he understood the legends were true. "All ships retreat," he ordered. His voice shook. "Fall back to the secondary defensive line. We need to warn the Supreme Commander." The surviving Velhari ships fled. Less than 100 remained from the original 300. They jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. On the Soul's Pride, silence filled the bridge. Then someone started clapping. Soon the whole bridge crew was celebrating. They had won again. Against impossible odds, they had won. Hana did not celebrate. She watched the empty space where the enemy fleet had been. She thought about the battles still to come. "Admiral," Taemin said quietly, "that was our second victory. The word will spread. Every species in this galaxy will hear about what happened today." "I know," Hana said. "That is the point." She turned to face her crew. They were young and old. Men and women. Scientists and soldiers. They came from every nation on Earth. They represented the best of humanity. "The Velhari have conquered 500 worlds," Hana said. "They have enslaved billions of innocent beings. They thought they were unstoppable. They thought no one could challenge them. Today we showed them they were wrong." She walked to the center of the bridge. "But this is just the beginning. We did not come here for 2 battles. We came here to end an empire. We came here to free every world they have taken. We came here to show the galaxy that tyranny does not last forever, not when humans are watching." Bora raised her hand. "Admiral, what if they send 1,000 ships next time? Or 10,000? Hana looked at her. "Then we will teach them that numbers mean nothing against will. Against courage. Against the unstoppable spirit of Earth." The fleet moved forward. Behind them, the wreckage of 300 Velhari ships drifted in the darkness. Ahead of them, an empire waited to fall. Supreme Commander Othran had not slept in 3 days. He sat alone in his private chamber, surrounded by holographic reports. Each report told the same story. Defeat, destruction, fear. The humans had won 7 battles now. Every fleet he sent against them was destroyed or scattered. His best commanders fled in terror. His strongest ships became floating wreckage, and the human fleet kept moving forward, deeper into his empire. "How is this happening?" he whispered to the empty room. The door opened. Kelvos entered slowly. He looked older than he had a week ago. The confidence had left his voice. "Supreme Commander, you asked for information about the human homeworld. Our intelligence teams have gathered everything they could find." Othran looked up. "Tell me." Kelvos activated a holographic display. A blue and green planet appeared. It was beautiful in a strange way. Clouds swirled over oceans and continents. Nothing about it looked dangerous. "This is Earth," Kelvos said. "Third planet from their star." Initial scans suggested it was a normal world, perhaps even pleasant, but deeper analysis revealed something terrifying. He touched the display. Numbers and data appeared around the planet. Earth has a gravity rating of 1 on the standard scale. This seems normal until you realize that most intelligent species develop on worlds with gravity between 0.4 and 0.7. Humans live under pressure that would exhaust most species within hours. Othran leaned forward. "Continue." Their atmosphere contains a gas called oxygen. At high concentrations, it is essentially poison. It destroys cells over time. It makes fire possible everywhere. The humans breathe this poison with every breath and call it normal." The display showed images of Earth. Mountains covered in ice. Deserts burning under a hot sun. Oceans filled with massive creatures. Forests, where everything seemed to be hunting everything else. "Their planet is covered with predators," Kelvos said. His voice trembled slightly. "Large creatures with teeth and claws. Tiny creatures that spread disease. Creatures that hide in the water and drag their prey into the depths. The humans did not evolve at the top of their food chain. They fought their way there. They killed everything that tried to kill them." Othran studied the images. He saw creatures called sharks, tigers, bears, Crocodiles. Each one was a natural killer. And the humans had survived them all. It gets worse, Kelvos said. Earth has extreme temperature changes. Some regions freeze solid for months. Others burn hot enough to kill unprepared creatures in minutes. The humans adapted to all of this. They lived everywhere on their planet. They conquered every environment. They are Deathworlders, Othran said quietly. Yes, Supreme Commander. Class 12 on the standard scale. The highest we have ever recorded. Most intelligent species come from Class 3 or 4 worlds. We come from a Class 5. The humans come from a world that should have killed them 1,000 times over. Othran stood up. He walked to the display and stared at the blue planet. Such a small world. Such a dangerous place. This explains everything, he said. Their speed. Their reflexes. Their endurance. They are built for survival in ways we cannot match. There is more, Kelvos said. Our intelligence teams intercepted communications from their fleet. They have learned things about human culture. What things? Humans are pack hunters by nature. They work together with perfect coordination. They form bonds with each other that they will die to protect. When one human is threatened, others will fight impossible odds to save them. They call this loyalty. They call this love. Kelvos paused. His next words came slowly. But the most dangerous thing about humans is not their bodies. It is their minds. They do not accept defeat. When they lose, they learn. When they fall, they rise again. They have a concept they call persistence. They will chase a goal for years, decades, generations. They never stop. They never give up. They simply keep going until they succeed. Othran closed his 4 eyes. He had conquered 500 worlds. He had defeated every enemy he ever faced. And now he understood that none of those enemies had been truly dangerous. They were soft species from soft worlds. They broke easily because they had never known real hardship. The humans were different. The humans were forged in fire. A communication alert sounded. Othran opened the channel. The face of a human appeared on the screen. A male this time. Young and strong with dark eyes. I am Captain Sung Ho, of the Terran ship Busan's Fury, the human said. I have a message for Supreme Commander Othran. Othran stepped closer to the screen. I am Othran. Speak. Sung Ho looked directly into the camera. There was no fear in his eyes. No hesitation. He spoke like someone stating a simple fact. We know about your empire. We know about every world you have conquered. We know about the species you have enslaved. The cultures you have destroyed. The innocent lives you have taken. For 500 conquests, no one stopped you. No one could stop you. And, he leaned forward slightly, that ends now. We are not here for territory. We are not here for resources. We are here because what you have done is wrong. Every slave you took will be freed. Every world you stole will be returned. Every crime you committed will be answered for. Othran felt his heart's beating faster. You have 40 ships. I have thousands. You cannot defeat my entire empire. Sung Ho smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who knew exactly how strong he was. Watch us. The screen showed a map of Velhari space. Red dots marked human victories. Blue dots marked conquered worlds. Green lines showed the path of the human fleet. We are coming for your capital, Sung Ho said. We will arrive in 12 days. You can send every ship you have against us. It will not matter. We are humans. We are Deathworlders. We do not stop. We do not surrender. We do not fail. His voice became harder. Leave the conquered worlds. Release the slaves. End your empire. Do this, and we will show mercy. Refuse, and we will show you what happens when you make enemies of Earth. The screen went dark. Othran stood in silence. Kelvos waited behind him, afraid to speak. Finally, Othran turned around. His face was calm now. The fear had been replaced by something else. Understanding. They are coming, he said. And they are right. I cannot stop them with normal tactics. I need something more. What will you do, Supreme Commander? Othron walked toward the door. I will gather every ship in the Empire, every weapon, every soldier. We will meet them at the gates of our capital, and we will fight with everything we have. And if that is not enough? Othron paused at the door. He did not turn around. Then the Velhari Empire will fall, and we will deserve it. He left the room. Behind him, the holographic image of Earth still floated in the darkness. A small blue world. A dangerous world. The home of the creatures who would decide the fate of an empire. The countdown had begun. 12 days, until everything changed. The Velhari capital system was beautiful. 3 suns burned in the center. 12 planets orbited in perfect patterns. The homeworld itself was covered with ancient cities that had stood for 10,000 years. This was the heart of the empire. The seat of power. The place where 500 conquests had been planned and celebrated. Now it was about to become a battlefield. Supreme Commander Othron stood on the observation deck of his command station. Around the capital, his fleet assembled. Ships arrived from every corner of the empire. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers, the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Final count, Othron ordered. His tactical officer looked up from the console. 5,200 ships. Supreme Commander. Plus orbital defense platforms. Plus ground-based weapons. This is the full strength of our military. 5,000 ships against 40. The numbers should have been comforting. But Othron knew numbers did not matter anymore. He had learned that lesson in blood and fire over the past 12 days. The humans will arrive soon, he said. Position the fleet in a defensive sphere around the homeworld. I want overlapping fields of fire. No gaps. No weaknesses. Yes, Supreme Commander. On the other side of the system, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Soul's Pride led the formation. Admiral Hana stood on her bridge, looking at the massive enemy fleet ahead. 5,000 ships, Lieutenant Bora reported. They brought everything they have. Hana nodded slowly. They are afraid. Good. Fear makes people make mistakes. Anna. Commander Yuna entered the bridge. She was the head of tactical operations. Her mind worked faster than most computers. She had designed every battle plan that brought them this far. Admiral, I have analyzed their formation. It is defensive. They are trying to protect the homeworld. They expect us to attack directly. Will we? Hana asked. Yuna smiled. Not exactly. She activated the main display. The Velhari fleet appeared as a massive sphere of red dots. The human fleet was a tiny cluster of green dots at the edge of the system. Their formation is strong against a frontal attack, but it has a weakness. They are focused on the planet. If we threaten something else, they will have to respond. Tactical Officer Deho stepped forward. He was young but brilliant. His specialty was understanding enemy psychology. The Velhari believe they are fighting for survival. That makes them predictable. They will protect the homeworld above all else. If we can make them think we are targeting the civilian population, they will break formation to stop us. Hana raised one eyebrow. We do not attack civilians. No, Admiral, but they do not know that. The plan took shape. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The main force would approach the Velhari fleet directly. 2 smaller groups would circle around the system, heading toward the orbital stations above the homeworld. We are not actually going to attack those stations, Yuna explained. But the Velhari will not take that risk. They will send ships to intercept us. And when they do, their formation will have gaps. Hana looked at her officers. These were the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. They had trained their entire lives for moments like this. They understood what they were fighting for. All ships prepare for engagement, she ordered. This is the final battle. Win here, and the Empire falls. Lose here, and everything we have done means nothing. I know which outcome I prefer. The fleet moved forward. On his command station, Othron watched the human fleet approach. His eyes tracked every movement. Something was wrong. The humans were splitting up. Some ships were heading toward the orbital stations. Supreme Commander, the humans are targeting civilian areas, his officer reported. Othron felt rage building in his chest. They would attack innocents? After all their talk about morality and justice? It appears so, Supreme Commander. Send 2,000 ships to intercept them. Protect the stations at all costs. The order went out. 2,000 Velhari ships broke from the main formation. They rushed toward the smaller human groups. Exactly as Yuna had predicted, Commander Yuna watched from her position aboard the ship Dagu's Spirit. The Velhari ships were coming fast. Perfect. All units, execute maneuver pattern 7, she ordered. The human ships scattered. They did not try to fight the 2,000 ships chasing them. They ran. They twisted. They led the enemy on a chase through the outer system, and while the Velhari focused on catching them, the main human force attacked. Admiral Hana led the charge. The Soul's Pride punched through the weakened Velhari formation like a spear through paper. Other human ships followed. They targeted command vessels, communication hubs, ammunition carriers. Tactical Officer Deho coordinated the attack from his station. His fingers moved across multiple screens at once. He tracked every ship. He predicted every enemy response. He gave orders that kept the human fleet one step ahead. Enemy battleship turning to engage. Team Delta, break left and hit their engines. Carrier launching fighters. Team Echo, intercept before they reach formation. Quote, command ship identified. Admiral, I am painting the target now. Hana saw the target on her display. A massive Velhari command vessel. Othron's ship, the heart of the enemy fleet. All ships focus fire on that target, she ordered. End this now. 20 human ships turned their weapons toward Othron's command station. Energy beams and missiles crossed the distance in seconds. Othron saw them coming. He saw his death approaching in trails of light and fire. But he did not run. He stood straight and watched the end arrive. The first missile hit the shields, then the second, then a dozen more. The shields failed. The hull cracked. Fire spread through the station. Othron fell to the ground. Around him, his officers screamed and ran. The lights flickered and died. Emergency systems failed one after another. He thought about his grandfather. His father. The 500 worlds they had conquered. All of it ending now. All of it destroyed by 40 ships from a small blue planet. The station broke apart. Othron closed his 4 eyes. Across the battlefield, the Velhari fleet saw their supreme commander die. For a moment, everything stopped. Then panic spread. Ships began to flee. Formations collapsed. The greatest military force in the galaxy turned and ran. Commander Yuna led her group back toward the main battle. The 2,000 ships that had chased her were now confused and leaderless. Some surrendered. Others tried to fight and were destroyed. Most simply ran. Admiral Hana stood on her bridge and watched the victory unfold. The battle was over. The Empire was broken. A communication came in. She opened it. An old Velhari appeared on the screen. He wore the robes of a civilian leader. His face showed exhaustion and fear. I am Governor Melthos. I speak for the remaining leadership of the Velhari. Supreme Commander Othron is dead. Our fleet is destroyed. We surrender unconditionally. Hana looked at him for a long moment. This creature represented an empire that had enslaved billions, that had destroyed entire civilizations, that had spread fear across the galaxy for centuries. Your surrender is accepted, she said. But understand this. Surrender is only the beginning. Now comes justice. She cut the communication. Around her, the bridge crew was silent. They had done the impossible. 40 ships had defeated 5,000. A small fleet had broken an empire. Deho stepped forward. Admiral, what happens now? Hana looked out the window. The wreckage of the Velhari fleet drifted in space. The homeworld waited below. Now we do what we came here to do. We free every slave. We return every stolen world. We build something better from the ashes of this empire. She turned to face her crew. The battle is over. The real work begins. 3 months had passed since the fall of the Velhari Empire. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. A reality without conquest. A reality without fear. Admiral Hana walked through the streets of the Velhari capital city. She wore civilian clothes instead of her uniform. The war was over. She was no longer a military commander. Now she was something else. A diplomat, a helper, a builder of peace. The city around her was changing. Buildings that once displayed symbols of empire now showed signs of hope. Markets were opening. People were talking. For the first time in centuries, the Velhari were learning to live without war. Admiral. A voice called from behind her. Hana turned. A young Velhari approached. He had the gray skin and 4 eyes of his species. But there was something different about him. His posture was not aggressive. His expression was curious, not hostile. "My name is Torvan," he said. "I am a student. I study history." "May I walk with you?" Hana nodded. Of course. They walked together through the ancient streets. Around them, life continued. Children played. Workers rebuilt. The sound of construction filled the air. "I have a question," Torvan said. "If you will permit me." "Ask." "Your people won. You defeated our entire empire with 40 ships. You could have destroyed us completely. Enslaved us the way we enslaved others. But you did not. Why?" Hana thought about the question. It was the same question she had heard 1,000 times in the past 3 months. From leaders, from citizens, from the freed slaves of 500 worlds. Everyone wanted to understand. "Because that is not who we are," she said finally. "Humans have done terrible things in our history. We have conquered each other. We have enslaved each other. We have fought wars that killed millions. But we learned, slowly and painfully, we learned that power without compassion is meaningless. Victory without mercy is hollow." She stopped walking. They stood in a plaza where a fountain sparkled in the sunlight. Once, this plaza had displayed statues celebrating Velhari conquests. Now, those statues were gone. In their place, gardens were growing. "We came here to end an empire," Hana said. "Not to become one. We came to free the slaves, not to create new ones. When you fight monsters, you must be careful not to become a monster yourself." Torvan was quiet for a moment. "Among my people, this is a strange idea. We believed that strength meant domination, that power meant control, that victory meant destroying your enemies completely. And where did that belief lead you?" "To defeat," Torvan admitted. "To the end of everything we built, not the end. The beginning of something new." Hana gestured at the city around them. "Your people are still here. Your culture still exists. You have a chance to build something better. Something based on cooperation instead of conquest." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. On 500 worlds, freed species were taking their first steps toward independence. Some were angry. Some were confused. Some were filled with joy so powerful they could barely speak. On a world called Kethra, Captain Sung Ho helped organize the transition. The native species, the Keth, had been slaves for 200 years. 3 generations had never known freedom. "I do not understand," said Elder Malix, a Keth leader. "The Velhari told us we were weak. They told us we could not survive without masters. They told us we were nothing." Sung Ho knelt down to meet the elder's eyes. The Keth were small creatures, barely reaching a human's waist. But their eyes held wisdom and pain. "They lied," Sung Ho said simply. "Every tyrant says those things to their victims. They want you to believe you cannot live without them. They want you to forget your own strength. But we have forgotten. We do not know how to lead ourselves, how to govern, how to build. Then you will learn. We will help you, not as masters, not as conquerors, as friends." Elder Malix looked at the human for a long time. In all the years of slavery, no one had ever called the Keth friends. "Why do you help us?" the elder asked. "What do you gain?" Sung-Ho smiled. "A better galaxy. That is what we gain. When one species is enslaved, all species are diminished. When one world is free, all worlds are stronger. We are connected, elder. All of us, every species, every world, every living being." He stood up and looked at the sky. "Humans learned this lesson the hard way. We almost destroyed our own world before we understood. But we survived. We grew. We reached the stars. And now we share what we have learned with others." Back on the Velhari homeworld, a ceremony was being held. Representatives from 200 species had gathered. Freed slaves stood next to former masters. Humans stood among them all. Admiral Hana took her place on a stage that overlooked the crowd. Commander Yuna and Tactical Officer Dae-ho stood beside her. Behind them, the flags of Earth and 200 other worlds hung in the wind. "Today we mark the end of one era and the beginning of another," Hana said. Her voice carried across the plaza. "The Velhari Empire ruled this galaxy for centuries. They conquered 500 worlds. They enslaved billions of beings. They believed that strength meant domination." She paused. The crowd was silent. They were wrong. True strength is not measured by how many you can crush. It is measured by how many you can lift up. True power is not the ability to destroy. It is the ability to build. True victory is not defeating your enemies. It is turning enemies into friends. She looked out at the crowd. Velhari stood next to Keth. Species that had never met before stood side by side. Former slaves and former masters listened together. "We did not come here to rule you. We came here to free you. All of you. Including the Velhari themselves. Because they too were slaves to their own beliefs. Slaves to fear and hatred and endless conquest." Commander Yuna stepped forward. She held a document in her hands. "Today we establish the Galactic Council. A union of free worlds. Every species will have a voice. Every world will have a vote. No one will be enslaved. No one will be conquered. We will face the future together." Cheers rose from the crowd. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, hundreds of species were united, not by force, but by choice. That night, Hana stood alone on the roof of the diplomatic building. She looked up at the stars. So many worlds out there. So many species. So much potential. Dae-ho found her there. He stood beside her in silence for a moment. "You did it," he said. Hana shook her head. "We did it. All of us. Humans and every species that chose hope over fear. What happens now?" She smiled. It was a tired smile, but a real one. "Now we face the hard part. Building is always harder than destroying. It will take generations to heal the wounds the Velhari created. Some species will never fully recover. Some anger will never fully fade. But we will try. Yes. That is what humans do. We try. We fail. We learn. We try again. We never stop." Above them, the stars burned bright in the darkness. Below them, a new civilization was being born from the ashes of an old empire. The Velhari had believed their victories would be endless. They had been wrong, because they had never met the Deathworlders of Earth. The unstoppable humans who fought not for conquest but for freedom. Not for power but for justice. Not for themselves but for everyone. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity had shown the universe what they were truly capable of. Not destruction, hope.